Something is brewing around this team, and if you're paying attention, you'll feel it. We're just days away from a moment that could silently reshape the future, not just for next season, but for years to come. The kind of decision that doesn't always make headlines immediately, but ultimately defines whether a competitive team stays on top or slowly fades away. Because it's not just about adding talent, it's about protecting what matters, fixing what went wrong, and ensuring this team is ready for what's to come. But first, click the like button and tell me in the comments if you think we can win this season. Let's go! Something big is quietly taking shape inside the San Francisco 49ers organization right now. And if you're not paying close attention, you might miss the signal before it becomes reality on draft night. Because exactly 1 week from now, everything changes. We are officially 7 days away from the 2026 NFL Draft, with the first round set for Thursday, followed by rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, and the final rounds wrapping up on Saturday. And according to Mel Kiper Jr., the direction the 49ers could take is already starting to come into focus in a way that should have every fan talking right now. And here's where it gets really interesting. In his final 2-round mock draft, Mel Kiper Jr. projects the San Francisco 49ers, selecting an offensive tackle at pick 27, but not just any tackle. A name that isn't being talked about enough nationally. But inside draft circles, the buzz is getting louder. Max Iheanacho. Let that sink in for a second. Because if this actually happens, it wouldn't just be another first-round pick. It would be a statement about the future of this franchise. Now here's what makes this projection so compelling. The 49ers aren't just drafting for 2026. They're drafting for what comes next after one of the greatest to ever do it, Trent Williams. Williams is approaching 38 years old during training camp this summer, and while he's still elite, the reality is unavoidable. The clock is ticking. And that's exactly why this pick works. No matter what happens with his contract situation, Iheanacho isn't just a plug-and-play prospect. He represents something far more valuable. Long-term upside. A player who may not dominate immediately, but has the traits to become a cornerstone piece down the road. And the backstory? It makes this even more fascinating. He came to the United States from Nigeria. He didn't even start playing football until recently, around 2021, yet still managed to start over 30 games at Arizona State. That's not normal development. That's rare trajectory. That's the kind of profile that front offices either fall in love with or completely pass on. But if you're the 49ers, this is exactly the type of gamble that could pay off in a massive way. We're talking about a player with elite physical traits, long arms measured at over 33 inches, quick feet, helped by a basketball background, and the kind of athletic ceiling that you simply cannot teach. And here's the part that should really grab your attention. He primarily played right tackle in college. So, what does that mean for San Francisco? It opens up multiple possibilities. You could develop him slowly behind Trent Williams, giving him time to grow into a future left tackle. Or you could make a more aggressive move, slide him in earlier, shift Colton McKivitz inside if needed. Start building the next version of this offensive line now instead of waiting until it's too late. Because let's be honest, the worst thing an elite team can do is wait until a problem becomes urgent. And the 49ers? They've always been at their best when they're thinking ahead. That's why this pick, if it happens, wouldn't just be about talent. It would be about timing. It would be about transition. It would be about making sure there is no drop-off when the inevitable change comes on the offensive line. Now, is there risk? Absolutely. Iheanacho is still relatively new to football. He needs development. He's not a finished product. But that's exactly what makes this so intriguing. Because if he hits, you're not just getting a starter. You might be getting the best offensive tackle from this entire draft class a few years down the road. And that's the kind of move that keeps championship windows open. But here's the question nobody is asking enough right now. Will he even still be on the board at 27? Because once teams start prioritizing traits over polish, players like this don't last long. So if the 49ers really want him, they might have to make a move. And if they do, that tells you everything about how they view the future of this team. Now, I want to hear from you. If the 49ers select Maxi Honachur in the first round, is that a move you're excited about? Or do you think they should go in a completely different direction? Drop your thoughts below because this debate is just getting started. And if you thought the story ended with the first-round projection, this is where things start to reveal an even deeper strategy. One that shows exactly how the San Francisco 49ers might be thinking heading into this draft. Because according to Mel Kiper Jr., the 49ers don't just stop at reinforcing the offensive line. They double down in the trenches. With the 58th overall pick in the second round, the projection shifts to the defensive side of the ball, and the name that comes up is Gabe Jacas, defensive end out of Illinois. And this is where things get real. Because if you watched the 49ers last season, you already know this defense, especially the pass rush, was nowhere near the standard we're used to. In fact, the numbers are brutal. 20 sacks in 17 games, dead last in the entire NFL. Let that sit with you for a second. A team built on defensive dominance, finishing at the absolute bottom in one of the most critical categories in modern football. That's not just a weakness. That's a red flag. And it gets even more concerning when you look at what this unit has been dealing with. Nick Bosa, one of the cornerstones of this defense, coming off a torn ACL. Mike Williams, also returning from a torn ACL. And on top of that, Bryce Huff, no longer in the picture after retiring. That's not just bad luck. That's a position group that suddenly lacks depth, stability, and reliability. So when you see a projection like Gabe Jacas in the second round, it's not just about adding talent. It's about rebuilding identity. Now let's talk about the player, because Jacas isn't just a random name thrown into this spot. This is a guy who produced. Consistently. We're talking about a defensive end who put up double-digit sack production, 11 to 12 sacks depending on the season sample, along with 41 total pressures, 7 quarterback hits, and over 20 hurries in a single year. That's disruption. That's impact. And maybe most importantly, that's reliability. Because one of the biggest takeaways from his profile is that there isn't a ton of projection needed here. You kind of know what you're getting. A physical player, good size, strong against the run, a pass rush arsenal that's already developed, and a motor that fits exactly what this 49ers defense has been built on for years. And here's why this matters even more than it might seem on the surface. The 49ers already made a move to address the defensive line by trading for Osa Odigizua, a move that cost them a third-round pick, but one that signals urgency. This front office knows they cannot go into another season with the same issues up front. They've already taken a step, but it's not enough, and that's why a pick like Jacas makes so much sense. He doesn't have to come in and be the savior. He doesn't have to carry the defense. He just has to be part of the solution, provide depth, rotate in, and most importantly, be ready if injuries strike again. Because if last season taught this team anything, it's that you can never have enough pass rushers. And if you look at this draft strategy as a whole, offensive tackle in round 1, defensive end in round 2, it tells a very clear story. The 49ers are going back to their foundation, building through the trenches, protecting the quarterback, attacking the quarterback. That's championship football. That's 49ers football. And if these projections come true, this could be one of the most important drafts in recent franchise history. Not because of immediate impact, but because of what it sets up for the next 3 to 5 years. So now it comes down to this. Would you be satisfied if the 49ers walked away from the first 2 rounds with Max Ihanachur and Gabe Jacas? Or do you think this team needs to be more aggressive, maybe target a different position, or even trade up to secure a bigger name? Drop your take below, and if you're enjoying this kind of deep breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Because with the draft this close, things are only going to get crazier from here. Let's go!